All right, that's probably going to make some racket. Okay. Forgot to plug the mic in before I started. Now I remember. Now we got the mic plugged in. We're live. We're going good. Oh, it's one thing after another, isn't it? Let's get disclaimers out of the way. We'll jump right into it. This is a weekly live broadcast pretty much every Thursday evening at 8 o'clock Central Time. Right now, anyway, we're doing it at 8 o'clock Central Time. This is where I'm at. I don't have a topic planned out. This is just an opportunity for me to interact with you guys, to answer your questions. I do my best to respond to every chat that comes in during the live broadcast itself. So if you have a question or something, you ask it. Unless you see me answering things that are after yours, there's no reason to ask it again. It takes me a little while to get through them all, but I do try to get to every one of them, unless you're talking to each other, which is fine. It's okay. So the only things we ask, anything's fair game. We'll talk about whatever you want to talk about, but do keep it family friendly. Do be polite. Don't start cussing at anybody. Don't start calling anybody names. We can have friendly debates. We can have disagreements, but still be friends, right? So let's jump into it. First of all, I got to start off here. Rabbit Homesteading just jumps in with a $5 super chat. Thank you so much for that. Says probably going to miss this, but I love to support your channel. Well, thank you so much for that. Hopefully you're still here. Didn't miss the live, but if you did, it's okay. I very much appreciate that. Very generous of you. Thank you so much for that. And there's Chester Hickman here. Good to see you. Feathered Connections. Good to see you too. TM says, talking to them, talking to Rabbit Homesteading, but good to see you too, TM. So, Chester says, good evening. Good evening, Chester. TM says, I ordered a cheap little grow light. I'm going to try this winter. Wish me luck. Well, good luck. I hope it works well. I've got a couple. You can grow, depending on what you're growing. If you're just like looking at growing some greens like lettuce and spinach and some of those kinds of things, yeah, cheap grow lights will work just fine. These shop lights I've got hanging up, I don't know if you can even see them. They're just shop lights. You can grow them under that. They're pretty easy to. That stuff's pretty easy to grow. If you're wanting to grow something that's planning on fruiting out, like a tomato or something like that, okay, good. I just thought I'd double check, make sure we could hear. Blessed with Pets says she hears me, so we're good. If you're looking at growing something that fruits out like a tomato or a pepper or, something like that, you're going to need full spectrum lighting, but you can get away with, just a cheap grow light with a lot of different things. All right. Jesse Mills is here. Good to see you, Jesse. And then there's Dawn. I miss Dawn. Good to see you, Dawn. Thanks for joining. Blessed with Pets. Saw you already. Thanks. Let's see. Linda's here. Good to see you. Joy Guthrie from Western Oregon and Aaron Guidros, good evening. Says, good evening, everyone. Hey, Chris. Well, hello to you, too. Ben Carlos from Southeast Idaho. Good to see you. Jacob Wolf says, hey, Chris, hope you're enjoying your evening. My girlfriend has joined me watch your live stream for the first time. She's excited to watch. Well, awesome. Welcome to both of you. I'm glad you could make it. I just got home from work like 25, 30 minutes ago. So it's always a little bit, it's a rush on Thursday evenings because I'm working a late shift. But that's okay. We're all good. All right, we got the sound. Yeah, I forgot to plug the mic in. It's not the first time I've done that. Probably won't be the last. Who's this? Warchild from what is that? I don't know how to pronounce that name. It's in New Zealand. Says hello, loud and clear. Shout out from, is that Atoria? I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right at all. Have no idea. But New Zealand, awesome. Thanks for joining us. All right, we got a bunch of people talking to each other, which is all good. We will just get past that. Spartman from South Dakota, good to see you. Blessed with Pet says, Chris, have you ever shown rabbits? You mean like going to a rabbit show is what you're talking about? No, I've never done that, actually. I thought about it once or twice and then decided, I don't know that I really want to get into all that. I think Dawn does, though, don't you? I believe Dawn does, but maybe. And Whiskey Tango Farms do. I don't know if they're here or not. They show rabbits, too. But Tealstone Homestead shows rabbits. I don't know if there's any kind of information on her channel about it if you're looking for information. So I'm not your guy, though. I've never got into showing rabbits. Practical Junk from Tennessee. Good to see you. S.O. Swanson, good to see you too. Abalove from Texas, good to see you. So we got 38 people in here. Hopefully everybody's doing well. You know, it just hit me that, Dawn says, no, she doesn't have rabbits. Hubby won't let me have them. We can't stand the dispatching quail. He can't stand me dispatching quail. He said no bunnies. Okay, I got confused. Sorry. I was getting you mixed up with somebody else apparently, but I couldn't remember. I always try to keep things straight and I always have a hard time with that. Anyway, it just hit me, like I said, that we're only like 2.5 weeks away from Christmas and I haven't done any Christmas shopping. I have to get that knocked out. Hopefully you guys are keeping up with yours. All right, David Lister's here. Good to see you, David. Says, hey, all from McAllister Quail Trail. Warshaw says, don't worry about it. New Zealand is fine, buddy. Yeah, I appreciate that because I don't know if I'll ever get that one right. That's a hard word to say for some reason. All right, we are at the end of the chat. It's not as busy as it usually is. We got 40 people in here, but nobody's talking, no topics to discuss. So I don't know. I should always have something planned out for these times, and I never do. I always just kind of rely on you guys to keep me preoccupied and keep me busy throughout the whole live broadcast. Serial Delta, there we go. That was hard to say. Says, good day from the subtropics of Australia. You've helped me with quail, and I have 28 chicks out of 30, all looking well. Well, glad to hear that. Thank you for letting me know that. And thanks for joining us for a live broadcast. I appreciate that. Blessed with Pets says, I've never shown before either. I'm working on type with my rabbits right now, and I'll start showing next year when I can drive. Well, good. That is something to look forward to. Again, I'm not going to be a good source of information on showing rabbits for you, but I'm sure you'll be able to get what you need out of somewhere. S.O. Swanson says, 40 watching, 23 likes, 5 are mine. Don't hold back. Hit the like button. Well, thank you for that. I appreciate that. We're up to 24 likes now. So and Tara says, hey, everyone in Gilroy, California. From Gilroy, California. Family is in town, so stopping to say hi, give a like, and let people know I got a new buck. Have a great evening. Well, thanks for stopping by and letting us know. You have a great evening as well. Go enjoy your family. Hopefully all is well there. Congratulations on your new buck, too. Jacob says, are you planning on doing any more good recipe videos soon? Never know. I need to work on some more, get some more out there for you guys. Yeah, I'll do some more at some point in time. I don't know. It's got a full-time job and all. Sometimes it's hard for me to plan much ahead on the videos. I just tend to kind of get them out there when I can. But we'll see about getting some more cooking videos out for you guys, some more recipes. Diana says, hey, Chris, I still love watching your lives. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. TM says, have you heard of something called Sonic Bloom? I think it is. You should check it out before you put on your spring garden. It would make a great experiment for you to try. Sonic Bloom. That sounds familiar, but what is that? I'll have to check that out. Yeah, thanks for the suggestion. Where are we there? I'll go look that up. I had to pull it up real quick so I don't forget to look on it. Steve says, question, how loud are quail hens? I think that's what that should say. The hens are not really that loud at all. They don't make much noise at all. They do a little bit, but it's very quiet. You're not going to notice it really. The roosters do crow, but they really sound like songbirds. So, if you've only got like a couple of roosters, like if you got a dozen hens and, like 10 hens, 2 roosters, you are going to hear your roosters crow from time to time, especially when they first hit, sexual maturity, first hit age. But they do tend to calm down a little bit over time. But they sound like songbirds, really. So most people don't even associate that with anything. It's not really a big issue. My neighbor, their fence backs up to my quail hutches. And one day I was out there working with the quail doing something, and he came out and said, what do you have back here? And, he was talking to me, and he lived there for a long time. And he said, for the longest time, I didn't know that, you had anything back here. I just thought it was, wild birds back here doing something. And then I saw you had cages, so I figured you had something. I just didn't know what it was. And, it didn't bother him at all. So if that's what you're worried about, it's usually not a big concern. But the hens themselves, they don't make hardly any noise. So you're not going to, I mean, if you're just keeping hens, it's not going to be a big deal. Linda says, hey, Katrina, congrats on your first chick of the test hatch. Did I miss that one? I'm not sure. I may have. Olga says, wanted to thank you for your old video about how to build a hay feeder to eliminate hay waste. Works great. Well, awesome. I'm glad to hear that. Yeah, that worked well for me. Any of the wasted hay just falls into the feeder and they eat it later. So it's really did reduce the hay waste quite a bit. Chester says, is 10 rabbits too many to start with? They're going to be for meat and showing in our county fair. Well, I guess that depends. Hang on a minute. I got a text message. Make sure it's not something important. Okay. I can deal with that later. Sorry. Just had to make sure it wasn't urgent. 10 rabbits. That depends. I mean, that's a lot to start with if you've never raised rabbits before, but at the same time, they're not really that difficult to take care of. The biggest thing about starting with 10 rabbits is there's a whole lot of cages you're going to need, a big expense in building the infrastructure. Now, if you can build all those cages out, where you're going to be housing them, think about the feed costs that you're going to be feeding, because that's going to go through quite a bit of food. If you're prepared for all that, yeah, it's not too much if you're ready to jump in. They're not really that much work. I have 4 rabbits right now, and it's, I don't know, 5-6 minutes worth of work every day to go out and feed and water them. It's really not that big a deal. And you can do things to, if you take that times 10, yeah, okay, maybe 15 minutes worth of work every morning. It's not really that big of a problem. But it is a pretty significant amount of feed that you're going to go through with 10 rabbits. So, the other thing is, I mean, if you're worried about it, start a little smaller. Start with 4 or 5. And, if everything's going well, you can easily ramp up pretty quick, assuming you have a source to buy the rabbits. If you're going to be showing them, you're going to want to get some pretty good rabbits. So, that's not just, you're not just going to want to buy any old rabbit out there. Blessed with Pet says, Chris, we're hatching Samani chicks. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that right. I've heard of those before, but I've actually read about them. I've never heard anybody actually say the name, so I don't know if I'm saying it right or not. It says they're really cool in there, and we're selling the chicks for like $600. Wow, I need to get into that business. But she gave you the eggs for $6 per egg. Well, good luck. Hopefully they hatch and you do well. We got Tony from Toronto. Good to see you. Joy says, I have chicks hatching out now, and I have one that runs in circles in both directions. It seems healthy otherwise. I was going to see if it will survive. It's the first one I've had that has done that. Runs in circles in both directions. You mean runs in circles forwards and then runs in circles backwards? I've never seen one run backwards in circles, but I don't know if it seems healthy. I'm not really sure if I'm understanding exactly what you're saying. So I don't know that I can answer that one, but yeah, I would just give it a chance, see how it does. Running in circles, both directions. I'm not sure if I get that one or not. I'm not sure if I can troubleshoot that for you with that. That you may have to give me a better description if it's possible, and we'll see if we can figure it out. David Lister said, I took some hard-boiled quail eggs to meal at church. They were still in the shell. A 4-year-old boy wanted to know if they were chocolate. He passed on them when I said no. You left them in the shell, huh? That's interesting. You were going to make them peel their own eggs, huh? But yeah, I can imagine they do look kind of like, you could imagine those would be little, candy eggs of some kind. TM says it has something to do with classical music sounds. What has something to do? I'm lost. What are we talking about? Is that sonic boom thing? Is that what we're talking about? It has something to do with sonic bloom. What now? You got me all curious. I'm sorry. I'll have to look that up later and look at that one. Okay. Ed got Bates here. Good to see you, Ed. Says, good evening, everyone. Hi, Chris and Verna. Hello to you too, Ed. Thanks for joining us. Blessed with Pets says, Chester, depends on how many cages you have, because if you plan on breeding for certain traits, you're going to have extra cages for keeping future breeders and grow outs. Well, that's true. You are. That's a good point. Blessed with Pets, you are going to need make sure you have not only cages for all your rabbits, but extra cages for grow out pens and things too. Don says, that's cute. To David, that's cute. I sent some eggs to a friend's little girl, and she called them dinosaur eggs. Really? I would think anything. I mean, they're so tiny. How could they be a dinosaur egg? But, you never know. Caesar is here. Caesar Reyes, good to see you. Chris says, where would you recommend buying quail from? Well, sorry. My Shire Farm's a great supplier. If you're looking, well, primarily eggs, that would be what you were going to buy. If you're looking for live birds, I would look for somebody local that has them and buy live birds from them, because quail, live birds don't tend to ship very well. There are places that you can do that, but I would just buy locally if you're looking at buying live birds. If you're looking at buying eggs that you can incubate, My Shire Farm's a great supplier for that. So that's a good source. There's a couple others. Whiskey Tango Farms sells eggs. There's a couple people in here that do. So, there's a couple places you could look. Joyce says, no, Chris, to the left and then to the right. Okay, so not forward, back. You're talking about running the circles, right? Sometimes when you guys are answering a question I'm asking, sometimes you may have to give me a little bit of a clue, because that was a while back that I said that, and I'll forget a lot of times what we're talking about. So Joyce says, to the left or right, I think that means it's run circles to the right and then circles to the left. I don't know that that's really a big concern necessarily. I mean, if it seems healthy other than that, who knows? Don't know. Ed says Cadbury eggs, LOL. Yeah, no kidding. S.O. Swanson says Sonic Bloom is both a chemical and cassette of classical music to play for your plants. That, no offense, but sounds like a bunch of hippie new age crap. But, maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. It's probably incredibly offensive to somebody. Hopefully I didn't offend anybody. I don't mean it that way. Blessed with Pets says, Joy, if we ever start producing them, I'll let you know. Maybe I can mail you some eggs. Yeah, no kidding. Mail eggs to all of us, because $600 a chick. We all need to get into that one, don't we? I gotta look that one up too. I forgot what. Give me that name again. Well, I'll look it up later. Steve says, thanks for the info. I'm only allowed 5 hen chicks. If the quail hen are not as loud, maybe I could fly under the radar with them. Oh, so you're talking about like your city ordinance. 5 hen chickens. Okay. Your city ordinance says you can only have 5 hen chickens. My city ordinance says, I can't remember. It's something ridiculous what you can have. And they don't allow roosters. They don't, but nobody, as long as nobody's complaining about them, there's no reason to, let me back up. There is nothing in my city ordinances about quail. I'm betting there's nothing in your city ordinance about quail either. And as long as, honestly, you can get away with whatever you want here, as long as nobody complains about it. Now, if I had a chicken rooster here, somebody would probably complain, and then the city's going to come in and enforce that on me. But if, as long as the roosters aren't crowing or bothering the neighbors, nobody cares, nobody complains, there's nothing for the city's not driving around looking for somebody to bust for having chickens illegally or something like that. It's just those ordinances are there. They enforce them whenever they get like complaints from neighbors or something like that. So you can probably get away with having quail roosters too, honestly. As long as you're not in such a tight, area where, your hutch is going to be right up against your neighbor's bedroom window or something, you're probably okay one way or the other. But, check with your neighbors, see if it bothers them, let them know, have a good relationship with them and let them know, talk to me if this bothers you, and I'll take care of it. David says, let's see what, I have one quail hen that can really sing. I call her Florence Nightingale. Huh. Yeah, none of my hens really make much noise at all. Hardly any. Blessed with Pets says, in Chester, I'm saying that because I'm in way over my head, and I've got 11 breeders and 11 cages, and I've got way too many color varieties, and I cannot mix, so I've got to do some serious thinking. Yep, that makes sense. Warchild says, would you, let me read that again. Okay. Would you have a recommendation for a perfect incubator? Asking someone who don't like alarms and bleeping. I don't know if there's any such thing as a perfect incubator, not a reasonably priced one anyway. Hang on just one second. Max, knock it off. Hey, quit. He's licking his feet. He's got skin allergies and he'll lick his feet raw if you let him. So had to holler at him there. All right, we're good. Perfect incubator, huh? I don't know if there's any such thing as a perfect incubator. I've got 2 incubators right now. I've got the Brisney Ovation incubator. It works great. I don't remember any kind of beeping or alarms going off on it. And I've got a Little Giant, a super old Little Giant incubator, forced air incubator, and it doesn't do any beeping or alarms, and it works great too. So, both of those are good suggestions. It depends on how much you want to spend on an incubator. But honestly, I don't know that you should really spend. I mean, if you're not looking at hatching out huge amounts of birds, I don't know that you should really spend much more than, $100, $150 and get one of those incubators, because they do great. Both of them work really, really well. Olga says, any suggestions for rabbits to stop turning their water bowl over? I use rubber bowls and most rabbits are fine with it, but a few are troublemakers and turn it over all the time. I have one doe. One of my does likes to dump her water bowl as well. I don't have any suggestions. I mean, you could try wiring it to the side, put a piece of wire around it and wire it to the side of the cage so it doesn't tip as easy, maybe. I don't know. But honestly, I just figure that, she's going to drink as much water as she wants. And if she tips it over, she's out of water for the day. That's her. I mean, she should figure it out. If not, I mean, she's going to go without water for a while. So yeah, I feel your pain, but I don't have a good solution for it necessarily. I just don't worry about it too much. I notice a lot of times that, she's dumped her water bowl, and then when I go to fill it up with water the next morning, I don't even fill it all the way up. I only fill it about halfway because I know she's going to end up dumping it over anyway. And she drinks and drinks and drinks a lot of the water, because she hasn't had water for a day because she dumped it over. And, and then usually she doesn't dump it over for another day or two. Blessed with Pets says, what colors I really want to continue with. Oh, on what colors I really want to continue with. And more importantly, the type of my rabbits. Build your barn before you paint it. There you go. Ed liked my hippie new age crap comment, huh? Well, good. Like I said, I probably offended somebody with that. I don't mean to. It's just, it's a funny joke to me. S.O. Swanson said, I tried singing to my plants. They didn't survive. Yeah, I can imagine if I was trying to sing to my plants, they would probably die off too. Can't blame them. Okay, how do you pronounce that? Is that this is Aaron says, I also raise, is it I am Samanis? I don't know what that's, I don't know how to pronounce that. Yeah, that's an interesting chicken for sure. I'll have to look at it. From Indonesia, huh? Yeah, I'll look more into that later. Blessed with Pets says, I still have no idea how to pronounce it. Yeah, well, I don't either. Jennifer says, good evening, Chris. Do you put a bottom in your rabbit nesting boxes? Yes, I do. So my nesting boxes, I make them out of cage wire. I can't remember the exact dimensions. I can look it up for you if you need. I've got a video on how to make them, so you can look at that and see. But anyway, they're just wire, and it's a wire, basically wire box, But I do line it with cardboard. In the wintertime, I put cardboard. I just take a cardboard box. Sorry. At least once a broadcast, I choke on my own saliva. Happens pretty regularly. All right. I take a cardboard box, I cut it to size and fold it and stuff it down in there. So it's basically the sides, the back, and the bottom are lined with cardboard. If it's warm out and, it's like early fall or late spring where it's fairly warm, a lot of times I'll just put cardboard on the bottom of it, but I do put cardboard down. That kind of helps keep the nesting material in, keeps everything just a little bit easier to take care of. Oh my goodness, I scrolled too far. Hey, there's Verna. Good to see you, Verna. Thanks for joining. So Aaron's trying to give me a pronunciation. Let's see if I can give you that. Ayam Samani. Ayam Samani. Is that right? Ayam? Anyway, who knows? Verna says, my hutch is right above my neighbor's bedroom. And the neighbors don't complain, huh? Well, that's all right. You were S.O. Swanson says, there you are, Verna. I was just looking up the number for the National Guard to come find you. Oh. And she says, sometimes I'm just busy. Hey, it's all good. I understand completely. John Doe says, got about 55 eggs coming. Your videos have been helpful. Well, awesome. Good luck with your hatch. I hope it goes well. Verna says, hey, Chris, today is the first day that all the kits were out of the nest. Well, awesome. They're going to be all over the place here pretty quick. There's Joe Sandy says, just now able to drop in. Hello to everyone, and hello to you too. How are we doing on time? We got like 35 minutes left. We got all kinds of time. David Lister says, water for rabbits. We use bottles with nipples from the side of the cages. You know, I was doing that for a long time. I didn't even set up the automatic watering system for the rabbits out there, where I've got them, moved out. I just left the bowls in there this year and used the bowls. It really wasn't that difficult to do, because I just take a gallon milk jug. I only got 5 or 4 rabbits, so it's not really that big a deal. But I just take a gallon milk jug out with me and fill up their water bowls when they need filled up. Joe Sandy says, some of my quail lay really late, like sometimes midnight. I'm afraid the eggs will freeze because I don't stay up that late most nights. Yeah, mine do too. Do you think if I give them their supplemental light before sunrise rather than after sunset, they might lay earlier? I don't know if it'll make any difference. Try it and see. I haven't actually tested that out to see. Mine tend to lay in the evenings too, and a lot of times the eggs do freeze. It doesn't get that cold here. It doesn't stay that long, so it's not really a big issue for me. I mean, we get freezing temperatures, and yeah, I get eggs that freeze, but we're usually not getting freezing temperatures for like weeks on end. We'll get them for like a week or something, and then it may warm up a little bit and be just about freezing almost, but not quite, or just barely drop down to freezing. And usually the eggs don't freeze by the time I collect them anyway. So I just don't worry about it too much. If the eggs freeze, they freeze. It's not that big of a deal to me. But I'm not hatching out in the wintertime either. I'm only hatching out like in spring and summer. Again, not a big deal to me, but try it out and see. Test it out and see if that does make a difference. That'd be interesting to know. Ed says, Chris, I choke like that all the time. Nuisance. Yeah, I don't. I start getting into when I start talking too much, sometimes I do. All right, S.O. Swanson's got another pronunciation. I am saying Mani. I am Simani. Okay, close enough, he says. All right. Yeah, Verna says, no, it doesn't bother them. They thought they were songbirds. Yeah, that's kind of what, most of the people I've run into, or my neighbors anyway, they all thought they were songbirds. Blessed with Pets says, I'm so hungry. Well, I'd go eat something, I guess. Verna says, oh, they are all over the place a couple have already learned from Mooney to come to the door for petting. Well, that's not bad. That's always good, isn't it? Blessed with Pets says, did you ever get around to breed your rabbit? No, I have not bred them yet. I need to. I keep saying I'm going to do it. I've been lazy. I need to do it. Probably this weekend. I don't know. I said it last weekend too, didn't I? Jay Bennett says, do you keep only a few quail during winter when they aren't laying? I'm contemplating getting rid of mine until spring and purchasing hatching eggs to start fresh. Well, yeah, I cut back to I've got like a dozen birds right now. I've got like 10 hens and 2 roosters. They're still laying because I got lights on the hutch. But yeah, I cut back to that for the wintertime. And then in the spring and the summer, I just ramp back up. But if you want to replace your bloodlines, there's no problems in doing that. You can definitely do that. I I mean, there's no reason for me to. I can feed them out over the wintertime and then ramp back up pretty quick in the spring and the summer with the birds I have. Blessed with Pets says, we have no food in the place that we're staying. Oh, no, that's terrible. Blessed with Pets says, do your rabbits carry lilac? You mean the color? Like, do I have... I have a blue doe, a silver fox blue doe, and yeah, some of my kits will carry that color strain, but I'm not sure if that's what you're talking about. Don Skin says, checking in from South Mississippi. Good to see you, Don. Thanks for joining us. And an ad played. Verna's dang commercials, LOL. Yeah, sorry about that. There's got to be ads that play, though. I mean, that's get a little bit of ad revenue for me. That's just, I can't help it. I could help it, I suppose. I could not monetize anything, but I need to make a little bit of ad revenue. I don't make a whole lot, just a little. It's nowhere near quit your job money. Let's put it that way. All right, we're at the end of the comments again with 30 minutes left. This is rare. We usually have plenty of comments. I can't keep up with them all, but we're doing good. Verna says, hey, it's okay. Just like commercials on TV. Yeah, it is. There's something going on here. I need to let the comments roll up there. There we go. All right. Sandman says, I've got about 40 quail, mostly hens, and even with added light, I'm only getting 5 to 10 eggs per day. Any ideas? Maybe it's not enough light. I noticed that a lot of the times, we're also getting real close to the time of the year where, towards the end of December, 1st of January, I usually do see a drop in egg production, even when I've got lights on them. And I think it's just because the days are so incredibly short. We're getting real close to the winter solstice, which is the shortest day of the year. And then the days start getting a little bit longer after that. But there's about a month period there, the last couple of weeks, mid-December through about mid-January, that's really a hard time, even with lights, to keep them laying. So, you may not have bright enough light. Light doesn't have to be terribly bright usually. You may not have it on long enough. You need about 14 hours a day of light in order to keep them laying. So if you're not extending that daylight long enough, that will affect them too. But again, like I said, I really noticed from about mid-December to about mid-January, my egg production really does tend to drop a little bit, even when I do have lights on them. Buster's here, says, hey all, we'll be listening while I finish taking care of all the animals. Well, thanks for listening in. I appreciate that. Blessed with Pets says the silver fox have black, blue, chocolate, and lilac. At least those are the most common colors. Yeah, I'm not sure on the lilac. I don't know that I've seen that one, but but yeah, I do have black. I have blue, and then one of my rabbits, well, maybe two of them, I don't know, carries a chocolate gene because I did have a chocolate buck, I believe it was, in my last litter of rabbits. So they carry the gene. I just don't know which one. I'd have to go back and look at my notes. Jennifer says, hey, Chris, I forgot how long before you process your rabbits. Really, it is based on the weight that they're getting to, not necessarily time. If you have, really good meat rabbit stock, you can get them to that weight by about 8 weeks old. That's 5 pounds is roughly what I'm going for. I don't necessarily weigh them. I just kind of look at them and determine they're about that weight, but usually it's right around 5 pounds. A lot of the times, though, it's going to take you a little bit longer. It's going to take closer to 10 or 12 weeks to get them up to that size. My current rabbits are not the fastest growing rabbits. When I had purebred New Zealand and a purebred California, I was getting pretty regularly about 8 weeks. They were getting up to about 5 pounds. But with my current rabbits, the pedigree silver foxes I have right now, it's really closer to about 10 to 12 weeks before they get to that size. Blessed with Pets wants to know from Tyler, what part of Louisiana? Did I miss something from Tyler? Oh, Tyler has a message retracted. Maybe that's what it said before it got retracted. Let's see. White Trim, is that it? White Trim says, how long does it take for quails to pass through molting stage? It depends a little bit on how much protein they have, because it takes a lot of protein to grow feathers. If you've got a fairly high protein feed, I'd say fairly high protein, being over like 20%, over 25% really. It shouldn't take more than about 2 weeks at the most, I would think. If you have a little bit lower, like somewhere around 20 or under, it may take them about 3 weeks or so, but it usually doesn't take long. Sometimes sometimes they're pretty much over the molt, but it takes a little while to grow back a couple of their feathers. But usually, like I said, somewhere around 2 weeks or so is about right. Oh boy, I scrolled too far. Don S says, oops, I got to run. Something came up. I have to do SAP. Nothing bad. Everyone have a great night. You too. Hopefully, well, whatever it is you got to take care of, hopefully you can get it taken care of. Have a good one. We'll see you next time, hopefully. So Ed says, hey, Verna, I think I've been thinking about the charcuterie deviled quail egg board. I think I figured it out, waiting on my supplies. So something else you're working on there, I guess, Ed. That would be interesting to see. Sandman says, thanks. I did bump up the timer about a week ago. We'll see how it goes. That might help. Our days are pretty short here. It's not getting light till about 7 o'clock, and it's pretty much dark by 5. So, it's, we're looking at like 8.5 hours, something like that, of light. Chris Esteb, I think it is, says I have 25 out of 100 my Shire eggs hatched. Not sure what happened. There's a number of different things. Zach's really good about helping you troubleshoot if you need to. The things that I would give you suggestions on would be check your incubator temperature, make sure that it's incubating at the temperature that it says it is. Usually a low hatch rate, the biggest culprit is going to be the temperature of the incubator. Make sure it's in a fairly temperature stable environment. Like, don't put it over an air conditioner or heater vent. Don't put it, in a window where the shades are open and the sun's going to hit it as it passes through, during the day. In a place where it's really drafty and there's a lot of, cold air from the outside coming in, that's going to make it hard for the incubator to keep up with. Get a couple of calibrated thermometers. I always say calibrate them, make sure they're accurate first, and get 2. That'll help you if those 2 thermometers are reading the same and your incubator temperature says something different, you can bet that it's off a little and you need to adjust it. So that would be the first thing that I would check. That's usually the issue with a low hatch rate. Joe Sandy says, I wish I could figure out the way to keep my quail from kicking the sand out of their hutch. It disappears about every 2 weeks. It's a Dale's quail's hutch. I've had that problem before when I put when I had little containers that had sand in it. Now I've got the hutches that have that whole side is nothing but sand, and it's got a 2x4, border around it, basically on end, a 2x4 on end, and they don't really kick the sand out of that. It's not. I never run out of sand. A little bit of sand gets kicked out, but I never run out. And part of that's probably because of how big it is. It's a pretty good sized box. And part of that is probably because it's got that 2x4, lip. It's a pretty tall lip around it. So you may need to find something that has a little bit taller sides to it. They don't have any problems getting in and out of that. It's easy enough for them to do. Those are the suggestions I would say. Phil says, hey, Chris, I've got a doe that is at day 34. I'm guessing I will need to rebreed. She did remake her nest this morning. Any reason to wait longer? Yeah, I'd give her a couple more days at least. 34 is, it's pushing it. You're looking at, that's probably about as late as, you're going to expect to have kits, but give her just a couple more days, especially since she rebuilt her nest. If she's hay stashing, running around with hay sticking out both sides of her mouth or straw or whatever you have in there, then definitely give her a couple more days. I'd give her till maybe day 36, 37. It's possible you got the date wrong too, so maybe you miscounted a little bit. But I would say if she's making a nest, I'd give her a few more days. So Tyler's in South Louisiana. Blessed with Pets says she's near Shreveport, so you guys are pretty close together, I'm guessing. I don't know where Shreveport is exactly. I know the city, but I don't know exactly where it is. Chris Aker says, hello from Idaho. First time catching your live. Thank you. Well, thanks for joining us. I appreciate it. Blessed with Pets says, if you had to choose a favorite small breed rabbit, which one would you say? I don't know if I can answer that because I don't do small breed rabbits. I don't really know a whole lot about them. Haven't really ever looked into them much. So I don't know that I could actually, if you were looking for like a pet rabbit, like a small breed pet rabbit, I don't know, maybe a mini Rex just because they have such nice fur, but I don't really know, honestly. Ed says, Zach at Myshire has a 50% hatch rate guarantee, by the way. That's true. He does. You're right. Chris Aker says, I love the sound of quail. Yeah, they don't bother me at all. I kind of like them too. I mean, the roosters can get a little obnoxious when they first, hit maturity, but they're usually, that's pretty short-lived. They usually calm down pretty quick. Steve says, to Jennifer, I process my rabbits at 5 pounds live. Yeah, that's about what I do too. It just varies a little bit on how long it takes to get them to 5 pounds based on your genetics. Blessed with Pets said, did all the winners of the giveaway claim their prizes? Well, 2 of them did. I need to check that. That reminds me. Let me pull that up real quick because I'm going to forget if I don't. Somebody said they sent me an email, and I don't think I got it, so I need to go back to them. The one that won the sorry, I'm trying to do this while I'm doing that. The one that won the Wynola Ranch cage said, oh, dang. Let's log in. Oh, I did get it. Got it. Okay. I need to get that sent. I'm glad you said that because I'd kind of forgotten about that. Yes, everybody has claimed their prizes. I sent out I had the actual GQF incubator here, so I shipped that out to David Lister. I know he got it already. I don't know where Ed's at on getting. I did send Ed's information to Dale, so Dale's working on it. He's probably got it already sent out. I don't know. But yeah, we're working on it. Dawn says, I have 45 eggs. Just went into lockdown. I'm having issues trying to keep a constant temperature in my little giant incubator. Well, I mean, it could be, kind of some of the things I addressed already. If you have it in an area that's really drafty or above a heater vent, for example, or, like in front of a window where your shades are open and the sun's passing through across the window during the day, those are all things that can affect that. If you can keep it in a little bit more of a fairly stable environment, then that should help. Don Skin says, I have 45 eggs, just went into lockdown. I already read that one. R4 Mississippi Thunder says, Central Mississippi here. East Central Mississippi, that is. Well, good to have you. Thanks for joining us. Joyce says, Polish rabbits make great pets. Interesting. Not real familiar with them. Joe Sandy says, it's not a container. It's the whole covered hutch like yours. I can't put anything in front of the door or it will be too small for the quail to enter. Plus the sand is always damp. So, okay. So I'd have to look at the cage specifically to see, but so you can't put anything next to the door because then they couldn't get through the door, but you could put something maybe, that far away from the door, right? Like a big stop and make that your sandbox. It would cut off a little bit, maybe. I don't know how wide it is, if that's possible. They don't need a whole lot of room, just, a little bit for them to be able to get through the door and jump over into the sandbox, if that makes sense. Dragon Girls here says, made it finally. Hello to everyone. Well, hello to you too. Thanks for joining us. All right. Joe Sandy says, I may just forget the sand for now. Yeah, well, I mean, they don't have to have sand. It is something that, they enjoy the sand. They tend to lay their eggs in the sand, which kind of keeps them fairly clean. So I like having a sandbox in there for them. They also use it as grit if you're going to be feeding them anything besides just commercial quail food. Then they do need some grit. Like if you're going to be feeding them insects or vegetables or any of those kinds of things, they're going to need some grit, and that serves as the grit for them too. So it is a good thing to have in a lot of times, but it's not an absolute necessity. So if you can't figure it out, you may have to just kind of skip over it. If they're kicking it all out every couple of days, that gets expensive pretty quick. I wouldn't deal with that either. The fact that it's always damp makes me think that you may, I don't know, that I'm not sure why it would always be damp, but unless there's like an area where it leaks and, the cage leaks on it, maybe, I don't know. Abba Love says, my quail is still only laying 1 egg and there are 9 hens. I've started using lights for extra light, but don't think it's been 2 weeks yet. However, the others never laid eggs before the daylight hours changed. Yeah, give them a little bit of time, a little bit more time, see if they pick up. I mean, like I said, we're in the shortest days of the year. So right now it's going to be hard to get them to lay even with supplemental lighting. You're still going to have some challenges with that. So give them a little bit of time and see how they do. Jennifer says, so if you process at 5 pounds, how much do they weigh when you're done processing? Yeah, I don't know that I've ever weighed them actually when I'm done processing them, but I would assume that they're probably somewhere around 70% of that weight by the time they're done processing. Somebody else may be able to answer that a little bit better and give us a better figure on that. But Ed says I couldn't figure out your email address. Well, my email address is chris@slightlyrednecked.com. So that's it. I mean, it's fairly simple, I think, but I get it. But either way, I got, Zach sent me your email address. He said you reached out to him, wanted to make sure I got it. I sent it to Dale, so I know Dale got it. And if you reached out to Dale, he got it too. So you should be good. Blessed with Pets says I raise Holland Lops. Holland Lops are nice. Verna says, Jennifer, it's usually 60% of weight. Okay, so that may be right. Blessed with Pets says, I have my incubator in the bathroom. Well, I guess that would work. Joe Sandy says, I love the sound the quail make when they lay. It's a pretty song. One night, a hen fluffed up and dropped one right in front of me while she was singing. I've never actually seen that happen. I've never seen a hen lay an egg. Boris says Shreveport is south of Joplin, I-49 and I-20. Well, it's a ways south of Joplin, unless there's a Joplin, Louisiana. Let's look it up because it's a very long way from Joplin, that's for sure. Let's take a look here. Let's see how. Yeah, it is south of Joplin. You're right. It's south. Yeah, just almost exactly south. But yeah, it's about I would say that's probably about a 6-7 hour drive to get to Shreveport. So it is a long way south of Joplin. Joy Guthrie says to Joe Sandy, I live in Oregon. My sand is always damp. I gave up on it. Yeah, that's unfortunate. Blessed with Pets says, if you were to try new meat breeds, what would you choose? Well, I mean, I did choose. There's a whole lot of different great breeds for meat. It depends on really what you're looking for. If you're looking for just meat, it's really kind of hard to beat New Zealand whites or Californias or one of each. A purebred New Zealand white and a purebred California and crossbreed them for meat. That's hard to beat. They're a fantastic meat rabbit. There's a reason why they are probably the most popular rabbit out there is when it comes to meat rabbits. But I really like my silver fox rabbits too. Their demeanor is really good. They're just easy to handle. I like them a lot. So I don't know. It's hard for me to make a decision. There was a time where I was a little bit more about just having meat, and it was the New Zealand white and the Californias that I liked. But now I've kind of relaxed that a little bit. I don't mind having a little bit slower grow out. Move the mic a little bit closer. It was moved away a little bit. Maybe that'll help with sound. I don't know that it's bad, but either way. But I do like the silver foxes because, like I said, well, they're pedigree, first of all, so I can sell them a little bit. They're used for multiple different purposes. So, some people raise them as pets. They're an heirloom breed. There's a lot of different things going there. So I can sell them a little bit more than I could sell a meat rabbit for. And I do sell a few out of my litters to help pay for feed costs. So that helps with that. So there's a lot of things to consider. Mississippi Thunder says New Zealand's are great for meat. I agree. Blessed with Pets says one that you've never had before. Mississippi Thunder says also standard Rex are pretty good too. Yeah, that's one to consider too. They have such a nice coat that standard Fox may be a good choice too. Or standard Rex. Did I say Fox? Anyway, you get what I'm saying. Verna says if you have a small family, Havana rabbits are great and their fur is like cashmere. There you go. Uh-oh, S.O. Swanson's giving us a 10-minute warning. Yeah, well, it's actually 9 minutes now, but hey, yeah, we're getting close to the end, aren't we? Mississippi Thunder says, awesome. I have a New Zealand white buck and a California doe I'm raising up to breed together. That's a great option, especially if they're purebreds. You're going to have great results from that as far as meat rabbits go. Usually fast growth, that hybrid vigor from crossing two purebred rabbits from different breeds. That really is an excellent option for meat rabbits. Steve Sednick says, Jennifer, they're around 3 pounds once processed, maybe a little less. They say 60% live weight. Les with Pets says, when did you decide to start breeding rabbits? Me? Oh, boy, it's been, about the time I started the channel, probably. Right about that time, I decided to start breeding meat rabbits. Now, I had rabbits when I was a kid, but it was a little bit different. Joy says satin are good for meat too and gorgeous food or gorgeous fur. I'm glad I read that whole comment because I almost started reading it as Satan is good for meat, but that's not what it says. Satins are good for meat too and gorgeous food or gorgeous fur. There we go. So that's a good option as well. And Verna says the satins come from Havanas. That makes sense. Yeah. I'm not real familiar with either one of those breeds. I don't know that I've ever actually seen one in person. Verna says, yeah, Andy told me so, that the Savannahs or the Satins come from Havanas. There we go. Blessed with Pets says, I love, is that black-eyed whites? B-E-W-S? I don't know if that's what you're saying. Blue-eyed? That's probably blue-eyed. Blue-eyed whites, I think is what you're saying. Practical Junk says, you guys are going to make me get rabbits again. Been a while since I had some. Yeah, they're nice to have around. I kind of like them, whether I'm breeding them for meat, have the meat or not. I like having them around. Great fertilizer from their droppings. They're just kind of pleasant to deal with. They all like to kind of be petted a little bit. They're pretty nice. Yeah, Blessed with Pets says blue-eyed whites. That's what I meant. Yeah, I don't know if I've ever actually seen a blue-eyed white rabbit, like in person. I've seen pictures, but I've never seen one in person. How are we doing on time? We got like 7 minutes left. Usually it's where we see a splurge of comments that I can't keep up with. Verna says the Havanas love being petted. Yeah, honestly, my silver foxes seem to like it too, or at least they tolerate it anyway. They seem to enjoy it. My New Zealand's, that's one of the things I like about the Savannahs or the silver foxes. There we go. I can't get up. We're throwing out so many words here. I can't keep up. One of the things I like about the silver foxes compared to when I had a New Zealand white, Californias weren't quite as bad, but the New Zealand whites especially tend to be kind of, except for the bucks. The bucks usually were a little bit easier to deal with, but the does can tend to be kind of neurotic and kind of, crazy. They didn't like being handled. They didn't like being touched. They didn't want to be petted, nothing. And my silver foxes are they'll come right up to the front of the cage. They don't mind it. You reach in and pet them. They're fine with it. Don't mind at all. They don't necessarily like being picked up, but they'll tolerate it. Mississippi Thunder says, I sure enjoy my rabbits. Yeah, I like them too. Gumbo says, you have me thinking about rabbits. Well, I mean, heck, if it's there for you and it's in your budget, do it. But don't let me talk you into it. Do whatever you want to do. Verna says, mine come to the door when they want petting. Sometimes they do Zoomies to get me in the room because they want attention. Well, mine are outside, so maybe they do. They want attention sometimes, and I'm not paying any attention to them. But they're going to have to deal with that. That's just the way it is. My dog does that though. He comes up and nudges my hand to get petted. Blessed with Pet says, today is our last day in New York. I have 6 siblings, so we have a big van and we can't fit in parking garages. So we literally did not find a spot today and never got out of the car. Oh no. Well, hopefully you're having a good time there. I've never been to New York. I'm assuming New York City is where you are, but I don't know that for sure. But yeah, that's a big family. Six siblings. That's 7 of you total, 7 kids. That's a big group. Yeah, I would think you can't fit in parking garage. Yeah, you'd almost have to park and take like public transportation around there, I would think. Practical Junk says, good night all. Got to go something. Go collect eggs. Go collect eggs. There's a little icon down there that gets in the way of some of the chats that are at the very bottom, so it takes me a minute to figure out what's being said. Well, we're slowing down. I know we got 5 minutes left, but I don't have any good stories or anything to tell you guys. Nothing too exciting's happening this week. I do have some kind of personal announcements I'll make later, but just waiting for all that to work out, and then I'll make those announcements. It's just personal stuff. It's nothing that would be probably totally interesting to you guys, but anyway, some of that stuff I'm working on. But we got Christmas coming up. Hopefully everybody's prepared for Christmas. If you haven't seen it before, you ought to check out the Bethlehem Star video. It's let me see if I can if you'll find it. Bethlehem. Oh, the Star of Bethlehem. That's the one you want. It was a 2007 film. If you just do a Google search for that, you'll find it. You can find where you can watch it for free. It's pretty interesting. A good watch around Christmas time. Diana says, good night, Chris and everyone. Good live once again. Well, thank you. Thanks for joining us tonight. You have a good evening. Blessed with Pets says, there was not an open street parking within an hour drive of Central Park. It was crazy. Yeah, I can imagine it is. Sandman says, any suggestions on keeping varmints away? At one point, I had an owl visiting my coop nightly for about a week. Also had a fox show up, but he spooked when the quail got excited and he ran off. Yeah, there's a lot of things you can do. Most of the time, like you said, the owl, like he can't get to him, so he gives up and moves on. The fox, I did have a fox that was coming up and grabbing the feet of my quail and pulling their legs off through the hutch. I strung a piece of electric wire around that, and he hasn't been back. So you could try that for sure. String a piece of electric wire around it. Or if you're having that problem, somebody suggested just put another layer of wire, yay far or so below your floor. That way he can't get through it. Can't get through it to him. But other than that, most of the time, I've had raccoons come up. I've had a couple of other things. They can't get to it, so they give up pretty quick and they move on, and it's not an issue. Boris says, working on Christmas Day. Oh, no, I'm sorry to hear that. I wish nobody had to. Blessed with Pets says, Sandman, a Great Pyrenees. That's a good suggestion. That'll keep most of them away. Mississippi Thunder says, good night, everyone, and God bless. Good night to you, too. Thank you for joining us. And God bless you, too. Verna says, great live, Chris. Thank you. Everyone have a blessed night. Well, we are right at time, aren't we? So it's a good time to end this one, I guess. Yep. Yeah. All right. I got to stop looking at chat or I won't get away. I'll just keep talking. So anyway, thank you guys for joining me tonight. Always a good time hanging out with you. We'll see you again next week. I don't see any reason why I won't be here next week. So we'll plan on that, and hopefully you all can join again. Until then, there is an ad coming up soon. Let me skip that ad for you guys. It actually gave me a notice. I skipped it for you. So we're wrapping up anyway. So anyway, thanks again. I appreciate your time spending with me, and we'll see you guys next week. So take care as always. God bless.